Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a review on The Help by Kathryn Stockett, and this is going to be my next podcast episode. So if you're interested in listening to me give a more in-depth look at the book and the movie and how they compare to each other and which one I think is better, the book or the movie, be sure to check out the next episode of the podcast. My podcast episodes always release on Thursday, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. But this review is going to focus exclusively on the book. It is not going to be a spoiler-free review. There are more than likely going to be spoilers in this. So if you're interested in reading this book, just be sure to check it out later, or check out this review later. This book has been out for a while, so you probably know most everything that you need to know concerning this book. But if you're still interested in reading it, then go ahead and click out and come back after you've read it. But The Help by Kathryn Stockett, if I'm not mistaken, was published in 2011 or 2010, around there. So it's been out for at least 15 years, maybe slightly less, slightly more, but about that time. But it takes place in 1962 in Mississippi. So we are in the Deep South, right in the middle of the Civil Rights era. This book switches between 3 points of view. We have Skeeter, who is the white character that we read through, and she just graduated from Ole Miss. She wants to be a writer. She currently works for the local newspaper in Mississippi, but she dreams of being a legitimate writer, and she is trying to find a way to impress a literary agent up in New York so she can leave the South and become an actual writer. Aibileen is one of the black maids that we read from her point of view, and she's raised or helped raise so many white children, and she's knowledgeable on all sorts of things. She has years and years of experience, and she's knowledgeable on just about everything and everyone. Minnie is the other black maid that we read from her point of view, and she is incredibly sassy. She is probably the sassiest maid in all of Mississippi, and that mouth gets her in trouble. She finds a little bit of relief, though, once she starts working for her new boss, Celia Foote, as she discovers that Celia has secrets of her own. Skeeter, Aibileen, and Minnie all come together to tell the stories, not just of Aibileen and Minnie, but of several maids in Mississippi and their experiences working under white families. So that is the gist of it. And I have to say, I didn't hate this book. I thought it was just okay. I think there was definitely a lot of issues in the story that there was just like issues that I had problem with within the book. And Kathryn Stockett states at the end that she was inspired to write this book because of the maid she had growing up and how much she loved that maid. And after that maid died, she kind of regretted not asking her questions and just getting to know her more as a person as opposed to just her maid. And she definitely incorporates some of this aspect into Skeeter. Skeeter had a longtime maid. This maid was part of the family, you could say, as much as a black maid in the South could be part of the family. So I use that term very, very loosely. But her maid, Constantine, was always there for her. She was like from the moment she was born till the moment that Skeeter went off to college. And then while she was at college, Constantine kind of just disappeared, and her mom won't tell her what happened to her. So it is her love and devotion to Constantine that kind of inspires her to want to talk to Aibileen and Minnie and bring to life the stories of these maids, apart from the fact that it would benefit her by impressing that literary agent up in New York and possibly giving her that boost she needs to finally become a writer that's not writing a cleaning column in the local newspaper. So I definitely had issues with the way that the Black maids were written, and I'm definitely not trying to say that own voices are important, for sure. Stories that fall into the own voices categories are very important. I'm not saying that I'm not one of those people that believes that just because you don't fit a certain race or gender identity that you can't write about that. But the reason we need to amplify own voices is because they're writing from lived-in experience as opposed to an imagined experience, which can be problematic at times, which is what I feel happened with The Help. Like, there was one line that really, really bugged me, in which Aibileen is in her kitchen and she's just working in her kitchen and a cockroach appears, and she's describing this cockroach and she says, "He's blacker than me." And I was just like, I don't know of any Black person that would describe a cockroach as being blacker than them. Like, that just, it just seems very insensitive and racist in a way, and I'm confident that that was not Kathryn Stockett's intention. But it's if you don't take the care, you end up the necessary care in when you're writing outside of your perspective, you can end up with lines like that, which just end up feeling really gross and icky. So there's that. I didn't necessarily, the way Aibileen writes, the way Aibileen talks, more than Minnie did have some issues, but Aibileen more than Minnie, it's just very stereotypical. Like, if you look at the way the Black characters talk in Gone with the Wind, it's just like a very exaggerated Black dialect that is very prevalent, like in Gone with the Wind, like that kind of. And I understand wanting to capture the essence of AAVE, but if it's just gonna come out more stereotypical, that's when it's very problematic. So yeah, so there was issues like that just really, really bugged me. And another aspect that just didn't sit well with me was at the end when Skeeter finally finds out what happened to Constantine. She asks Aibileen, like, what happened to her. She's been asking Aibileen throughout the entirety of the novel, and Aibileen's like, it's not my place to tell you, like, it's not my place to tell you, ask your mom. And her mom's like refusing to tell Skeeter what happened. And then finally Aibileen like writes down the story of what happened. And essentially Constantine gave birth to a daughter who was white passing, and she put her daughter up for adoption in Chicago when her daughter was 4 years old so that she could continue raising Skeeter and her brother, essentially. And so once Constantine's daughter was an adult, they reconnected. She came down to Mississippi to visit her, and she's white passing, but because, how do I phrase, like, she's white passing, but yeah, like the way she's described, she's very white passing. Like, you would not know that she's half black at all. But yet somehow all the characters, like, that have no idea who Constantine is, who've never, like, they all seem to know that she's still half black. So that portrayal was kind of confusing to me, because I was just like, the way this character is being written, you would not be able to guess that she was black at all. Like, she's white passing completely. But then you have, like, when Constantine drops her off, it's like, well, the white orphanage didn't want her, so she had to go to the black orphanage, and there was some issues with her getting adopted because, like, the white people didn't want her because they knew she was black or half black, but then, like, the black people were kind of scared of raising her because of how white passing she was. So it just didn't really make sense to me. Like, I just feel like if she's as white passing as she's being described, there would be no way for the white families to know that she's half black. I don't know. That just was not computing for me. I'm not saying that there aren't white passing, I don't know. To me, like, if someone is white passing, it implies exactly that. Like, they can get away with, no one would ever guess. If you've read The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett, there's two twins, and they end up leading very different lifestyles. They're both white passing, but one of them embraces her blackness fully, and she returns to her town, and then one of them fully begins passing as white and doesn't, like, no one who's met her would ever guess that she's black. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning. So it's like, if she's being dropped off at an orphanage, how would anyone know? Anyway, I'm being really meticulous about that point, and it's not that important, but the point is, she has a white passing daughter, and this white passing daughter shows up. Okay, she's in Mississippi going to visit her mom, and this is a small town in Mississippi, so everyone knows that she is half black. So it makes sense for Skeeter's mom and her mom's friends to act racist towards her because they know who her mom is. So she ends up acting like she tries to get away with acting white at this party, and that just pisses off Skeeter's mom, and is like, I know you're not white, you can't act like you're white, so get out of, like, start acting like the black person that you are. And she refuses, and so because of that, Constantine ends up getting fired as well, because of her daughter's actions. And when Skeeter finds this out, she, like, obviously she's very conflicted because she very much disagrees with what her mom did. And so even though she's writing Constantine, she's going to add Constantine's story to the book because it's required of her based on what the literary agent told her. She is kind of hesitant to include why Constantine was fired because she knows it'll make her mom look bad. And so she tells Aibileen, like, I don't think I can include that aspect of Constantine's story. And Aibileen says, I think that's the right idea. Like, I think you would be a bad daughter if you included that. And that also just didn't sit right with me. If these maids are truly looking to tell their full and honest experience about their life as maids in incredibly racist Mississippi, I think Abilene could understand why Skeeter wouldn't want to share that story with her, and I don't necessarily think Abilene would push her to include that in the book. But that comment just didn't sit. It just didn't make sense to me, just because these Black women are trying to tell their story as honestly as possible. So there's I had issues with aspects like that in the book. So to me, it was just okay. I think it's definitely has its moments, you know. It makes people feel good knowing that they're not the Hillies or the other characters, and they can view themselves as Skeeter and be like, if I lived in that era, I would be Skeeter and I wouldn't, so like the white saviorism part of it is, so to me, it was just okay. I didn't hate this book. I can acknowledge its problems and just think it's okay. I don't think it's terrible, but by any means, but am I gonna shout it from the rooftops and talk about how great it is as much as much as it was when it was first released? No. Am I going to recommend this to other people? Probably not. If someone asks me my honest opinions, I'll tell them that I thought it was just okay. But am I going to go around and tell people everyone should read this book because it's life-changing? Definitely not. So, yeah, I hope this review wasn't too rambly, but yeah, to me, ultimately, it was just okay. And I think there's definitely better books out there. And just, I also think there's other authors that have written Black characters better than Kathryn Stockett wrote Abilene and Minnie, but that's just me.